From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Gloria Swanova, and you are listening to 12 p.m. news on 1680 The Crow. The city of Langley is hosting a regimental funeral for the constable who was killed in the line of duty last month. Our reporter Madison Buckingham has more information on the event.
However, the public has been in communities across the Lower Mainland are gathering today to remember the late Constable Rick O'Brien. The funeral is set to take place at 2 p.m. this afternoon at the Langley Event Center and will be a private event for family, invited guests, and designated officials. However, the public has been invited to gather on 202 A Street to watch the procession prior to the event. Organizers have asked those attending to be wearing red to show their support. The funeral march will begin on 76th Avenue roughly an hour before the event. Madison Buckingham, 1680 The Crow.
Webb Knew is set to become Canadians' First Nation Manitoba provincial premier. Yesterday, his party defeated the Progressive Conservative to form a majority government. Webb Knew says the hard work begins now, as his New Democrats work to fulfill their campaign promises to fix the health care in the province. He says that work includes adding frontline health staff while building a new emergency rooms and a cancer care facilities.
I've been asked to serve as premier. I don't know how much more weight you could put on somebody. I mean, this is the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life, and the real work hasn't even begun yet.
Following yesterday's City Council meeting, the push for a livable wage in Vancouver continues to see new challengers. Our reporter Sonia Kuttenbrauer has more with how officials are working to break ground for the working class.
Councillor Christine Boyle won a code of conduct dispute over Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim last night. The complaint was issued by Sim following a private council meeting that eliminated the living wage policy. Boyle quickly spoke out after condemning the termination of the policy, which gave City of Vancouver employees a minimum hourly pay determined by Living Wage for Families BC. With rising tensions over the increasing cost of living, many are questioning why BC's minimum wage, which stands at $16.75, does not meet the estimated livable wage of $24. Councillor Boyle released a statement yesterday saying that she intends to continue fighting for the return of this policy, not only for city employees, but for all working people. Sonia Kuttenbrauer, 1680 The Crow.
Sonia is live with us today. Sonia, why was the livable wage policy ended?
Well, it's a bit unclear because the council meeting was private, so there's very little public information on this. But Mayor Ken Sim did speak to the media briefly back in March when the meeting happened, and he explained that the 2023 wage of $24 would have been a 17% increase from the year before, and this would have had an immediate impact on the rest of the city's pay structure.
What is the estimated livable wage of $24 based on?
Well, Living Wage for Families BC, which gives the certification of a livable wage employer, set a mandatory hourly amount that city workers needed to be paid in order for them to support a family of four. So it's based on supporting a family of four, and that wage was set to $24.08 for the Metro Vancouver area.
When can we expect to hear more about this policy?
Well, as Councillor Boyle stated yesterday in a statement after the meeting, she intends to pursue to get this policy back, but the timeline is a bit unclear. She said in a statement yesterday that as soon as she is legally able to, she will be pursuing this policy.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
The federal government of Ottawa is putting up more money to study the possibility of searching a Winnipeg area landfill for the remains of the 2 First Nation women. Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Gary Anandasangari says Ottawa will contribute $740,000 to the effort.
I've been clear from the beginning, we're in it for the long haul and we will continue to support the families. This is the next natural step in this process, and it's important that we get that information required in order for us to assess where we go from here, and this is where I'm looking forward to the province of Manitoba being at the table.
The autumn season is upon us and mushrooms are beginning to grow and bloom here in BC. Our reporter Grace McLeod shares some insightful considerations that you should make before picking one at random.
According to Vancouver's Mycological Society website, fall is the perfect time to harvest mushrooms, especially in October due to the amount of rain we get here in BC. However, edible mushrooms can be found throughout the province all year long. It is important to note that not all mushrooms are edible, and it is best practice to learn which are poisonous and which are safe. It is also important to note where you may collect mushrooms because BC has strict laws and restrictions on this matter. However, the Society encourages people to go out into the wilderness, learn about these mushrooms, and harvest in the right way. I'm Grace McLeod, 1680 The Crow.
One person was killed in West Vancouver at the Cypress Mountain Resort. West Vancouver police says it was an industrial accident that happened on Tuesday. They say the operator of a front-end loader was caught under the rig as it overturned. The details of accidents, what caused the machine to flip, are still unknown. Police didn't release the victim's name yet. WorkSafe Place BC and police are still investigating the workplace death and injuries. Launching fall vaccination campaign for COVID influenza is on October 10th. Health Minister Adrian Dix and Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry presented the plan along with the updated surveillance data on COVID-19 and other respiratory diseases and revised expectations for masking in medical facilities at a news conference. 60-year-old woman is dead after crash near Hondo, about 200 kilometers north of Edmonton on Sunday. Police closed Highway 44 while they were investigating the crash. RCMP said details about what they're calling a single vehicle crash aren't being released. But Mounties are confirming they are also looking for a red semi-truck pulling a flatbed loaded with the industrial equipment that was in the area at the time. RCMP said there were another people in the vehicle with the women, but no other injuries were reported. The Federation Sovereign Indigenous Nations is adding a new position to address what leaders call decades of mistreated with the provincial healthcare system. The new ombudsman is Diane Lafond. Her 29-year-old son nearly died recently due to the liver failure. She says nearly every step of the day she was told her son was not eligible for the liver transplant due to his alcoholism. Lafond says doctors labeled him as a drunk. Her office is at work closely with the Saskatchewan Health Authority, the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and the first responders to investigate and advocate for improved quality and accessibility health care for the Indigenous communities. Squamish Nations is requesting the province to change the name of Mount Garibaldi to Nitchkai. Our reporter Chris Koo has more on the story.
For the Squamish people, the mountain is not just a regular mountain. According to the provincial toponymist Trent Thomas, the proposed name Inchikai mirrors the heritage values in the region. It is also considered sacred by many Squamish people that once played a crucial role in the survival of the people during the Great Flood. the government will consider before determining the potential name change, but there is no definite timeline given for that decision. Chris Koo, 1680 The Crow.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump returned his New York civil fraud trial for the third day after running badly off the judge by criticized unfairly a key court staffer in social media post. He stopped to talk to reporters inside the courthouse and was asked if he would accept an invitation from House Republicans to become their next speaker.
I'll do whatever it is to help, but my total focus is being president.
Vancouver Whitecaps FC continues their push to the 2023 MLS Cup playoffs this week with the two crucial Western Conference matchups. First up, the Caps host the top team in the conference in St. Louis City this Wednesday, October 4th, on College Night at a BC Place. Kickoff is set for 7:30 p.m. It's early in the 2023 to 2024 minor hockey season, and many players and their parents are getting adjusted to a new policy from Hockey Canada. This season, all minor hockey players are being encouraged to wear the base layers they wear under their equipment to the arena. This was your 10 a.m. news. This was your 12 p.m. news. 1680 The Crow. I'm Joyce Wonder.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
So you want me to sing a song? Oh.
Maybe like some of the healing.
Okay,
yes,
so the
just
bear
healing.
song would probably be if you want a healing song would be that. But I think you might want to move the mic away from me a little bit.
I'm gonna record it like this.
Yeah, because it's
yes,
the drum gets really loud. I've never recorded before.
That was beautiful.
It was, and it was a good thing he let us know about the volume because we were really close. But hey, let's introduce ourselves first and this podcast.
Sure, I'm excited to share our journey. My name is Ugila Ivanova.
My name is Sebastián Arancibia.
And this is a Heal Spirit podcast for 1680 The Crow. Today, for this episode, we interviewed two spirit individuals about their healing journey and how they take care of themselves and others.
Yes, so let's jump right into this topic. Two spirits. Did you know what this meant before doing this podcast? Full honesty.
Well, Sebastian, as a foreign student from Muslim country, Uzbekistan, I have never met or talked to two spirit people. While listening to two spirit people, it was a big shock to me to hear about their traumas and what they've been going through.
In my case, I have to admit that I thought I knew what it meant, but I was actually wrong. I had a misconception of the term, but we're all learning, yeah.
That's true. We are all learning. So let's meet our first guest who will share what it means to him to be a two-spirit person.
I'm Adrian Levesque. I use he, they pronouns. I'm the Indigenous Outreach Coordinator here at Community. My family is from the Opipinipiwin Cree Nation, so I'm a Nihinau Cree from Manitoba, out of South Indian Lake. So Two-Spirit was originally coined in the 90s at one of the gay and lesbian conferences in Manitoba. But from my own personal perspective as a Nihinau Cree, I was taught that two-spirit people see both ways. So like you have a male part of your spirit that sees one way and a female part of your spirit that sees another way. I've always attributed, so historically, two-spirit people were often mediators or in leadership roles. And I think that that's why, is because we have that strength of being able to see both sides and kind of bring people together and to bridge those gaps. The first person I met who was identifying as two-spirit was actually a trans sex worker on the downtown east side. So a lot of people know that there is an overrepresentation of Indigenous people on the downtown east side for multitude of different reasons. Their life was hard, it was just watching them trying to survive, and that is a very common experience among two-spirit individuals because if you're Indigenous, you can still turn to your community and sometimes they will do a really good job of being able to provide you with resources and assistance that you need. But when you're ostracized from that community and you're a queer person, there's even less resources for you to be able to access. Discovering my true self has been a very liberating experience, but definitely has come at a cost. And I would say that cost is acceptance and inclusion. I think, people, the minute you start identifying as a two-spirit or Indigenous person, people will start looking at you differently. Not everybody, but some people do.
That was a really good explanation. Thank you, Adrian, for sharing your journey with us.
Through this podcast, our guests really share their most vulnerable side.
And it is crucial to understand how different communities deal with different topics. I think what really fascinated me was the spiritual side of this term. So before we continue, we just want to add two things we learned while we were researching this topic.
Yes, so the first thing is the term two-spirit doesn't apply to all Indigenous communities or First Nations. Some communities might use another term in their own language. And also this name came about to replace an offensive word that was used among colonizers to describe Two-Spirit people.
Yes, and the second note we wanted to add it is that Two-Spirit not always equate to the term LGBTQ+, since some indigenous communities understand sexualities and gender that are completely different from our Western understanding.
And our second guest, Robert Hong, can explain us more about that and also about how he helps Two-Spirit youth in their journey of healing and breaking self-damaging cycles.
I'm a Sittaboy, Chinese and French Canadian, right? I was born in Victoria. I'm an urban native, so I learned a lot of my culture here, but actually my heritage is Prairie. My dad is Chinese and my mother's Métis, right? My dad's Philip Hong and my mom's Joan Hong, and I'm the chief of the Four Feather Society. Last summer we had put up a pride booth. And not just for Indigenous LGBT people, but all people came, and I was doing smudging everybody down, which is our role for the medicines. I couldn't believe how many tears were there. How many tears were people coming and having a moment to cleanse themselves. Spiritual abuse is the big one for us. That is when you're told that you're not as worthy, that somehow you're a deviant, somehow that you're going to hell, that somehow that you're less than everybody else, somehow you're perverted, somehow you're defective, that goes to your core, and that's spiritual abuse, right? So, but my work, I'm a sweat lodge keeper, and I have a lodge in North Van.
When you're like part of ceremonies, do you wear a special regalia?
It all depends on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was doing the smudge downs at the Pride Day, I wore my ribbon shirt.
Are you comfortable showing?
Oh, okay. When I have feathers on me, it's a different kind of thing. Like this one here, it's very functional for just what I want to say, for speaking and doing other things that I need to do, right? Or with this, it's more ceremonial, so might be a drumming circle, things like that. And this is more my pride regalia, right? Where I might wear in the pride parade or something like that.
So, Rob, thank you. We really appreciate how many things he shared with us. He was the person who was playing the drum at the beginning, so now you finally know.
Yes, it was really important to learn from Robert how people, especially Two-Spirit people, heal. What are the rituals and processes and what they've been going through. And by the way, the drumming was beautiful and I was fascinated. And he has the most amazing voice I've ever heard.
We can learn more about the process and the rituals Two-Spirits go through in order to heal. So Adrian shared his top 3 ways to decompress.
For myself, personally, because I am Nihinau Cree, we smudge a lot of the time. So if we're feeling like we need to purify in whatever way, I also will attend Two-Spirit Sweat Lodge. So that's been a really, really great help as well, especially coming out of the pandemic. And kind of like reintegrating into community. It's been an amazing experience. And then one of the things that I do for myself is I like to go medicine picking. If I'm feeling like my balloon is about to burst, I will go for a walk and go pick sage or cedar or sweetgrass or something like that. Something that I can use in my own ceremony, in my own life, in my own morning ritual even. And so those are the 3 things that I do.
I just wanted to add to what we have heard from Adrian and Robert. When we were doing our research about this topic, we couldn't find data about the mental health of Two-Spirit people. And there is a reason, because there's still a conversation going on about how it will be the most culturally appropriate way to research and make surveys about it.
We're getting to the end of this episode, and we wanted to close with a message from our 2 guests. We asked them what advice would they give to the new generation of Two-Spirit people. Let's listen what they have to say.
Don't listen to what other people tell you you are. You will find out who you are on your own, and it's up to you to decide who you are and to make that journey. And everyone is going to have their own opinions, but your opinion is the only one that matters.
Just to know that the Creator doesn't see you as a mistake, that He actually sees you as a purpose, right? To bring your gifts to the world. Become yourself. You know, be proud of who you are and who the Creator's made you, because you are not a mistake. You know, and if anybody tells you any differently, that's their projection of their own self, their own thinking. You're not a mistake. You intended to be who you are. That you've got gifts to give. You have purpose.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today.
I'm Sebastian Arancibia.
And I'm Ugula Suranova, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicholas Poitras, and this is your sports news at 12:30. The Canucks have held many important practices as they get set for their final week of the preseason. As they inch closer to opening night, many key details, as well as their symptoms, are their main focus. Canucks forward Brock Besser is keen to make those important improvements.
Our last preseason game, we played a lot better, and we keep building each and every day and working on different things in our systems. And so we're playing predictable hockey, and I think it's felt different this whole camp, just with talking the whole coaching staff and us getting back early. I think we've been pushing each other a lot and working hard. So I just hope that it continues to show in these preseason games. And with that being said, we still have to have we have to make the most of each and every day this last week.
The Canucks will host their second last game of the preseason, where they play the Seattle Kraken in Abbotsford tonight at 7 p.m. The Toronto Blue Jays opened their best-of-3 wildcard series with a 3-1 loss to the Minnesota Twins. Toronto outfielder George Springer says the Blue Jays will be ready for these must-win games.
I think everyone understands that our back's up against the wall, but I think we actually played a good game. We hit the ball well. Obviously, it doesn't show that, but thought we hit the ball good, pitched, and it's on to tomorrow, and that's pretty much all I can say. Just on to tomorrow.
Today's Game 2 is set to begin at 1:38 Pacific Time. After winning their wildcard series openers on the first day of Major League Baseball playoffs, the Texas Rangers, Minnesota Twins, Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Philadelphia Phillies could advance to the next round with victories today. As is often the case when postseason plays roll around, pitching was king Tuesday. None of the four teams that won gave up more than 3 runs. Minnesota and Philadelphia allowed just 1, while Jordan Montgomery and 2 relievers combined on Texas' shutout at Tampa Bay. And on to soccer news. The Vancouver Whitecaps are still pushing for the playoffs as they play the number 1 seeded St. Louis Soccer Club. The Whitecaps are currently the 6th seed, and only 2 points separate them from the 9th seeded FC Dallas, so a win is needed with only 2 matches left in the season. The game starts at 7:30 Pacific Time. The Toronto Raptors are having their second of 5 practices in Burnaby today. After what new coach Darko Rajakovic called high spirits on their first day of practice, the Raptors hope to continue this mood and energy into their following practices. The Raptors are trying to have a cultural reset with a new coach, high draft pick, and plenty of valuable acquisitions made this summer. The team is preparing for their first preseason game against the Sacramento Kings at Rogers Arena Sunday night. Lawyers for soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo are headed back to court in a legal battle over hush money. A United States appeals court planned to hear Wednesday from lawyers trying to revive a woman's bid to force international soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo to pay millions more than the $375,000 in hush money he paid her after she accused the athlete of rape in Las Vegas in 2009. The reasoning for the extra money was due to someone in his camp was responsible for violating their confidentiality agreement. Ronaldo has maintained the sex was consensual. No immediate ruling is expected Wednesday. A very different 2030 World Cup is set to be played in Europe and Africa with the surprising addition of South America. The deal will allow FIFA to open the men's soccer tournament with a 100th birthday party in Uruguay, where the first World Cup took place. The Spain-Portugal bid that grew to add Morocco this year also now includes longtime bid rivals Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. The deal still needs formal approval at a meeting of FIFA's 211 member federations. FIFA President Gianni Infantino called it a unique global footprint to have the tournament played on 3 continents. FIFA, the governing body for all of soccer, has approved the possible reintegration of Russian youth teams into its competitions. FIFA's decision means Russian teams can play in its under-17 World Cups, but only if they advance through the UEFA-run qualifying formats. Any Russian youth team that would like to play in the name of the Football Union of Russia rather than Russia. That was your sports news for this half hour. I'm Nicholas Poitras, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.